My involvement in civil rights has a lot to do with my background. I was born in December 1926 in Hamburg, Germany. I'm Jewish. I started German public schools just a few weeks after the Nazis came to power in 1933, and I spent a good 5.5 years as a Jewish kid under the Nazis, and experienced what it meant to be discriminated and segregated. We were very lucky to be able to leave Germany in October 1938, just a few weeks before the pogrom of November 9, 1938, which marked the beginning of the Holocaust.
Well, I knew nothing about racial segregation in the United States before I got to the United States. And I first came in contact with it in Virginia.
What were some of your first impressions of black people in Richmond and of race relations in Richmond, Virginia?
Well, I was shocked by what I saw. It reminded me of Nazi Germany. When I came to Virginia, I was very much aware that similar restrictions, similar discrimination existed against blacks. They were denied access to public places, to the hospitals, movies and theaters. So we lived in an apartment house near Dillard University, which was a historically black university, and ever so often on the mailbox an N was put in front of our name. Instead of Iggers, somebody had put an N so that it read as niggers.
What was your and your husband's motivations to accept a teaching position in the southern U.S.?
I think that one of the main reasons was that there was very little choice. I think we had one other opportunity that clearly was not as good, and by good I mean a place where we could make a difference in race relations.
Did you know about the existence of racial segregation in the South beforehand? What were your expectations of life there?
I couldn't really visualize what it would involve. I was aware of racial segregation, but I didn't know much about it. I didn't think much about it. I just was curious.
And what were your first impressions on your arrival in the South?
People were friendly. Black people seemed deferential and hesitant to talk to us. I remember an instance of a student of mine pretty early after our stay in Little Rock, where I was walking downtown and I noticed that she kept falling behind, and I was wondering whether she had some kind of a handicap. And I asked her, and she said, well, she had never walked next to a white person.
And what were your first or most disturbing encounters with Jim Crow in the South?
It was just things that I observed. It wasn't things that were happening in our lives. I realized that the schools were obviously not as good as the white schools, that they were more crowded, and that the teachers were not as well prepared. The faculty at Philander Smith College, where we taught, were not as well trained as people as faculty in white schools. In any way, it was comparable to that of many of the whites in Little Rock.
And did you worry about raising your children in a racially segregated society?
Well, I thought that pretty soon these things would change and they would not be living in a segregated society. And I thought it was probably a good thing that they realized that they knew the bad times, because surely they weren't going to last.
And did you feel that gender discrimination was worse in the South than in the North?
No. I think a difference was made between women in the North and ladies in the South, but I don't think this was a matter of discrimination, but just of Southern culture.
And how did you feel about your husband's activism for the NAACP? Were you ever worried that his and your engagement in civil rights would disadvantage or endanger your family, especially your children?
I was proud of what he was doing. I was trying to participate as much as possible, and I probably should have worried about the children, but I didn't.
Were you ever directly criticized or threatened by white or black colleagues, neighbors, or other people during your involvement in the civil rights struggle?
Well, there was a neighbor and colleague, white, with a Christian church background, and I think he and his wife did not quite approve of what we were doing. They had not been doing anything like that, and they probably thought that it was useless to try, that things weren't going to change.
And when you and your husband decided to leave the South and settle in the North, was it primarily because of better job opportunities you received up there, or did you also feel more comfortable living in the North as opposed to the South?
Well, my husband thought about the job opportunities. I was willing to take whatever I could get in the North, and I always did. I think he not only thought about the better jobs, but also about the better libraries and the colleagues that he would meet, not necessarily at the same university, but in the same city. And I felt more comfortable in the South than in the North.